Today I'm here to bring you the Calgary Real Estate Market update for November 2020. My name is Jasmine Lai with the LiveInnerCity Real Estate team, and as Calgary Realtors, we are committed to bring you this update every single month. So if you don't want to miss that, make sure you subscribe to our channel. We do all the heavy lifting here. We take the raw real-time stats, we analyze them, and then we share with you the number of sales, inventory, and tell you what pricing is doing. Make sure you stick around to the end because I'll be giving you customized advice for buyers, sellers, and investors. So let's get right to it. Sales volume. The number of sales were up significantly from the same time last year as we continued our strong push from September right through October. Showing Time is an app that tracks the number of home viewings happening in our province. And because home viewings are the leading indicator of real estate sales, this is showing us that we still have substantial buyer demand in the market right now. In fact, it's actually 100% more than the same time last year. As we entered into November, we did see this trending down slightly, but it did remain above 100% more than the same time last year. So it indicates that we are on pace to beat the number of sales in November 2019. The total market was 23% more in sales than the same time last year. But let's break that down for you. The detached market led the way with 35% more in sales. Semi-detached had a very strong month at 21% more, and the row townhouses were at 9% more. The only loser we had was the apartment sector at -6%. Now take a look at this graph, which shows the sales per day, which dates back from May 2020 all the way into pretty much today's date, and we see a positive trajectory even though we're well past our regular seasonal peak, which indicates that the back half of this year has been very strong in sales so far. The question we keep getting is, how long is this going to last for? And if we look at October sales per day, we see that sales picked up as the month went along, and this is better than expected. So we should expect as we move closer to the holidays that things are going to slow down a bit. Now let's talk about inventory. If you take a look at this graph, it illustrates the total new listings that we had in October versus the same time last year. And new listings were up in the beginning half of the month, but then it started to normalize and then drop off. This next graph shows us that as the month went on in October, the number of total inventory did go down. And this next graph is showing us that since May 2020, the number of new listings has already peaked and we're on the downside of this trend. And this last graph shows us that by the end of October, we had about 13% less in total inventory, which indicates that our problems of oversupply are moving towards a healthier market. Now let me break it down for you by property type for the total inventory versus the same time last year. For detached, for new listings, we saw on par at 0% and the total inventory up by 22%. For semi-detached, we did see a new listings of down by 1% and total inventory was down by 21%. Then we have row townhouses, which was down new listings by 8%. And then total inventory was also down by 6%. And then we have apartments lastly, which was up by 26% in new listings and total inventory was up by 9%. Therefore, in conclusion, the detached and semi-detached markets saw the biggest inventory drops. And this is partially due to the stronger sales volume throughout 2020 so far. Pricing. Again, the benchmark price increased over last month to $422,600, which is a 0.55% increase year over year. And just to put things into perspective, it's less than you think it is because we're now only 1% lower in price than we were at the beginning of 2020. And this is a respectable place to be given everything that our city has gone through this year so far. Now, each property type did fare differently in terms of pricing, with detached increasing by 1.8%, semi-detached decreasing by 0.9%, and row townhouses decreased by 5.6%, and the apartments went down by 1.3%. Now let's show you this graph. The yellow and greens mean that they are well positioned to weather most of the negative impacts on pricing for that property type. But for the reds, they are in jeopardy of a coming price decrease. So those are still the apartments and row townhouses. Advice for buyers and sellers. We combine these two sections together this time because if you're a buyer, for example, you need to know how the market is treating a seller right now and vice versa. Now take a look at this graph right now. I'm gonna just go back to it. It's sales per week, October 2020, which is the red line, versus October 2019, which is the blue line. And you can see the huge gap between these two lines. And if you look at this next graph, this is the sales to new listing ratio. And we see that from the end of September all the way to third week of October, we were hovering at about 75%. And then all of a sudden we trended up significantly. So this indicates that we're right now in an improved and faster paced market. As a buyer, you're probably already noticing that when a good property comes onto the market, it is sold very quickly, and sometimes even in a multiple offer situation. And as a seller, you're definitely benefiting from this current trend where sold prices are much closer to the list price, and also the average days on market are lower. Now I'm gonna help you to understand the pace of sales for each property type by using the metric months of supply, which is at the current pace of sales, how long will it take to sell all the inventory for that particular property type. For detached homes, we're at a quicker pace right now at 2.2 months of supply. Whereas for the semi-detached and row townhouses, they're faring a little bit better than before at just under 4 months of supply. And then there's the apartments, which is at a slower pace of 6 months of supply. Advice for investors. This is the time of year we're normally hungry to add another under market value property to our portfolio, but those are far and few between based on the data that I've already shown you. What you might want to do is look at some strong cash flow options instead. If you're targeting the apartment sector, let's give you a big tip. Right now, there's a huge amount of inventory in the resale market. Those are heavily competing with the new builds that are happening right now. So if you're going to a new build pre-construction, you have a little bit more leverage to negotiate a better price for yourself. As always, these market updates are here to help educate you and for you to easily understand the trends that are happening in the Calgary real estate market. Now, each of you are going to have a very different situation, which will require a customized approach. So please reach out to us so that we can give you a tailored solution. My name is Jasmine Lai with the LiveInnerCity Real Estate team, always helping you keep real estate simple. We'll see you in the next one.